That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette, and we'll talk about a couple of stories here in the news. Jim, how you doing?
I'm fine. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be back.
You take a week off, and all hell breaks loose.
Well, that's kind of what
Let's
always
not do that
happens,
all the
right?
time.
So, wait a second. I understand Pablo Rodriguez is still leader of the Provincial Liberal Party. That didn't happen.
He is for now, but as I was mentioning to one of your replacements last week, it's too bad newsrooms are so small these days, because back in the day, we would have had very, very lucrative office pools on how long he's going to last as leader. As it is right now, every day it's like the Advent calendar from hell, Aaron. Every day brings some new fresh hell for the Quebec Liberal Party. And I mentioned this to you before you left. I said, listen, you know what? When Pablo was talking real talk, show me your sources. Put up or shut up. Blah blah blah. I said, listen, the way this works is when investigative teams start dropping stories, they're not firing all their bolts at once. They've got plenty of ammunition in the back. And the latest chapter in this is that 14 volunteers, he said, making air quotes, on the campaign for Pablo Rodriguez's leadership, received $1,000, which kind of puts the lie to the whole idea of being a volunteer. However, now that was this morning's story. This afternoon's headline is the Liberal Party has responded saying, no, we had a surplus in fundraising for the leadership campaign, so we decided that the volunteers who put in the most hours should get some compensation. So we gave them each $1,000. Okay, and that's all there is to it. But once again, it'll be something else tomorrow, and perhaps something else after that. Yeah. It never seems to stop, my friend, and it really is now. It's not a matter of being a maverick when you say, listen, I don't understand how Pablo Rodriguez can stay on as leader. This party is absolutely mired in this. It is defining every single thing that it does. They could turn around and deliver the most eloquent damnation of the Legault government, and no one would be paying attention. Because why? Because who knows what the next headline is going to be tomorrow. Yeah. That's where they are, and I'm not entirely sure. And there was also talk, mind you, of a petition being circulated saying, listen, you know what, please, for the good of the party, step down. I don't know if that's for real or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was, simply because every single indicator we've seen over my God, it's only been, 3 weeks? It seems like 3 months, is that this party is now hip deep in this, and I don't see any way that they can get out other than hitting the reset button. Maybe they'll surprise us, but at this point in time, I don't think anybody is turning around saying, put all my money down on a Quebec Liberal government in October of next year. I don't see that happening at all.
Well, okay, so let me deal with that for a second. This idea, again, it's been a week since I was trying to track this story, and today I saw the release that you'd sent about, here's the $1,000, and we had a surplus, and therefore it's okay. We didn't do anything against the law or the rules. And then I read Robert Libman's piece Saturday, and I wonder how many people are beginning to feel that now, Jim. Do you agree with that? Exactly. This idea that it doesn't really matter what happens going forward. Too much time has passed for this to be resolved, and for the better of the party, if I can put it that way, he needs to walk?
Absolutely. And when you have sources as diverse, Robert Libman, by political persuasion, yes, a quality party, but he's also, as far as I know, he's a conservative. Tom Mulcair, a former leader of the NDP, I think we know where he lands, and both of them are saying the same thing, and I think a lot of our listeners are saying the same thing as well. They're just looking at this saying, okay, on the one hand, there has never been a more fallow ground to plant the seeds of a flourishing Liberal government. And in the past 3 weeks, we've seen all of that turned into scorched earth. Even though there are parties that are the PQ are, and I want to be fair, the PQ are wasting no time shooting themselves in the foot as often as the Liberals. However, the problem here is that the focus right now and the headlines that are making echoes are with the Liberals. And this is the real problem, not just for our listeners, not just for Anglo-Quebecers, but I think for the whole province. If we see ourselves suddenly bereft of a contender, if we see, much in the same way as I once used to complain when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister, that he's handing the next election to Pierre Poilievre on a silver platter, I think, at this point, the entire election for next October is being handed to Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. It is his to lose. Although, to be fair, he's trying to do a good job of doing that.
On his own, yeah. Well, let's deal with that. So, again, this story took place a couple of days ago. I will point out Mark Miller is going to join me in about an hour from now. He's going to be here at about 5:20 to kind of try to understand or try to explain what's going on. First, you had François Legault tear a strip off Mark Miller. Didn't mince his words. And then what did PSPP do?
Well, he turned around and basically didn't go after Mark Miller per se. He went after the various cultural organizations that had the temerity to issue the usual boilerplate, welcome aboard, Mr. Miller, look forward to working with you. You seem to know what you're doing. You'd be a good culture minister because, let's face it, Quebec cultural organizations, like cultural organizations across the country, receive some amount of financing from Ottawa. Well, this just sent PSPP round the bend. He said, this is, I am embarrassed. It's a shame. These people, you have to, they're being disloyal to Quebec by saying things like this. And a lot of people, not just the people that he was targeting, but a lot of people in that, how can I put it, that francophone media establishment kind of took a step back and said, what did you just say? And he doubled down the next day. He said, no, this, we have to be clear. We have to make it clear that we have to be separate from Ottawa. We have to be separate from the feds. And it wasn't until, Quebec's usual televised confessional, Tout le monde en parle, that he went on TV last night and said, well, maybe the words I chose were too hard. Maybe I should have expressed it differently. The fact is, yes, you should have done that, but on top of everything else, is that to say that your Grand Caucus of 4 people did not pull you aside and say, maybe, boss, maybe you should dial it back a bit? This, above and beyond everything else, we're talking about, what happened with Pablo's leadership campaign. What happened to Paul St. Pierre Plamondon's judgment? This is a guy who wants to be premier of Quebec. As far as I'm concerned, with his spouting off, the way he spelled it off, and please, I mean this in the nicest possible way, Aaron, he sounded like a caller to a talk radio show, rather than a guy who's the premier in waiting. He sounded like a guy who just wanted to spew out all this bile, get it out, and somehow that's going to help me in my campaign. This is a big check, in the hockey sense of the word, to the ambitions, I think, of Paul St. Pierre Plamondon. I think he's going to have to either, be a lot quieter now certainly pipe down over the course of the holidays and hope that people forget this. But I got to tell you, it was a huge gaffe, a huge splash, and it's exactly the kind of thing that if people don't even remember it, it'll be easy enough for his opponents to remind them.
It's easy. As I listen to you explain this, Jim, I'm thinking to myself, so wait a sec, he's saying all these Quebec cultural groups that get money from the federal government, happy to take that money, but then giving them heck for going ahead and saying, hey, welcome to the new minister who's now going to be in charge of that file.
Mark Miller basically turned around after he was sworn in and said the quiet part out loud, what everyone, and I mean everyone in Quebec is thinking, which is everyone is fed up with the so-called language debate. Everyone is fed up with the so-called psychodrama over the so-called decline of French in Quebec. Separatists like Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, recycled separatists like François Legault, of course they went over the top because this is their bread and butter. This is the red meat they throw to their base, that you are in danger, you are being threatened. And for Mark Miller to turn around and basically say that and say, listen, can we stop politicizing this? Yes, French needs to be protected. We get that part. But this whole idea, this whole psychodrama, and they freaked out, proving his point as far as I'm concerned. But what's really, really funny here is in the end, François Legault still remains somewhere at the bottom of the Pacific Trench in the polls. And as I say, Paul St. Pierre Plamondon really went out of his way to embarrass himself this week.
So the last part of the story, and again, you'll have to excuse me because, again, I didn't see this until I came back. There was a Léger poll out last week which showed the CAQ continuing to do poorly, but the PQ did better. But then the part I noticed in this poll, Jim, was there, 65% of people who said they would vote for PQ want nothing to do with a referendum. Has that changed?
Yeah, 65% of respondents said no to Quebec sovereignty. They're flirting with 40% in the voter support, which is like, that's like another super majority a la CAQ. And also the other thing is the Liberals burned off, and they dropped 6 points. The poll that I saw last week, apparently they are now, they were touting, oh, look, we're at 16% with francophone voters. They're back down to 10%. Ça va pas la shock for the Liberals, but yeah, this is where we are. And once again, though, that if you're suggesting this contradiction in terms of supporting the PQ and confronting with its raison d'être, That is a collision that has yet to happen. I think there are some people out there who are going to say, you know what, I'll vote yes for the PQ, no to sovereignty, and everything's Jake. I think, though, that number is not the majority of people. I think a lot of people will be asking themselves, a lot of people will probably be talking about this, or at least having the conversation with themselves over the course of the holidays as to, you know, what the hell is going on in my province, and who in God's name do I vote for next year?
All right, I want to leave that behind if I can. You know the deal today, Jim. It's our 80th anniversary here at CJD. How long have you and I been doing this here?
I came on the second month the show had started, so that would be, 2011?
Yeah.
So, yeah, 20. So it's 14 years with you. And I first went on in 2005. I was hosting, doing commentaries. So yeah, it's been a while, bud.
Got some memories here? I mean, so you've obviously been listening long before you were on the air here.
Yeah, oh, yeah, but, you know, I got to tell you, and I love the job that Anthony did with that montage, with all those clips. But what gets me about all that, I guarantee you that every single voice you hear in that clip, nobody thought they were making history. They were just at the office. And that's what I love about this job. That's what I love about CJAD. That's what I love about what we do, is you come in and you are having a real-time conversation with an entire population. And you do that every day. And I guess we're doing something right, because people come back, people keep listening. But the idea, if we are an institution, Aaron, we're not a museum. We are, in fact, this ongoing social experiment that seems to have checked off all the boxes, done all the right things. And, you know, if there's anything I'm conscious of on this 80th anniversary, it is simply how great our audience is. Even if they send in those terrible texts, Aaron, the fact of the matter is they're listening. When they stop texting, we got a problem. They're
listening, and they're communicating and letting us know what they're listening to and what they want to talk about, which is the bottom line at the end of the day, right? It's not about us, it's about them.
Absolutely.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Matt.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now I've got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.